Hi, I'm Erin Knight. I'm a nature educator here at Lake Honesty Nature Preserve, and I'm here in Henderson Meadows today. If you didn't see our video about Henderson Meadows Pollinator Plot Restoration Program, I hope you'll check that out. And we're talking about pollinators again today. A very particular pollinator that we're helping by providing a nest habitat that you'll see over here behind me. And the pollinator we're talking about today is the blue mason bee. Also, leafcutter bees may use this, another native species, but we're going to focus on blue mason bees today. So, if you don't know about the blue mason bee, they are a fascinating insect. They are tunnel nesting insects. That's why they love these tubes here. And they are solitary, meaning they will not have a hive or a colony or a queen, but they do like to live near each other. The term for that is gregarious. So they don't mind having their hole next to another blue mason bee's hole for nesting. But they really don't interact with each other than mating and laying their own young. So, not a colony, but a gregarious species. You can see we have two types of nesting boxes. It's an experiment. We're seeing which one they like better. So we have these trays. And the crucial thing about this tray is it's removable and it's cleanable. And the size of the holes, the tunnels, are ideal for the blue mason bee. It's exactly the diameter and depth that they prefer. Cleanable is crucial because they wouldn't live in these numbers at this proximity to each other in the wild. It's fine if they do in the nesting box as long as we keep it clean so they don't catch disease. And then we have the tubes. Again, you replace these tubes each year, so it's easy to keep clean and disease-free. So either one of these boxes will work. It's a matter of seeing which one they prefer. So we're just going to test that this year. And I can't go further without thanking Dennis DeFrancesco, who has made both of these, mounted them both, and helped us with the Blue Mason Bee program at Lake Honesty Nature Preserve for many years. So thanks, Dennis. So, many differences between this bee and the honeybee. They don't make honey, and the others I've already mentioned, that they don't live in a colony, they don't have a queen, but they also, the blue mason bee is significantly better at pollination. So let's dive in and learn a little bit more about this solitary bee. In South Carolina, our native species is Osmia lingaria. The females are roughly the size of a honeybee, but the males are smaller. They're both round and metallic blue. The male has a white tuft on his face. They're univoltine, meaning there's only one generation of offspring produced each year. When searching for a suitable nest site, a female bee may repeatedly enter and inspect numerous cavities. When she finds one she likes, she's going to clean it, even if it doesn't need cleaning. She's a really good mama that way. Tunnel depth, diameter, and material all matter to influence the ratio of male to female babies that would be laid inside of it. After she's found her hole, she's going to zigzag in front of it and memorize the entrance. Then, after it's clean and she's memorized its location, she's going to go find materials for construction, and that usually means mud. That's where the blue mason bee gets its name. It likes mud that is nice and wet and doesn't crumble. And the first thing she's going to do once she goes in to construct is build a terminal wall. Even if one already exists, she's going to build a mud wall at the back of that tunnel. Unless it's greater than 7 inches deep, she might build that wall 7 inches in, even if that's the middle, to make it the depth that she wants it to be to feel comfortable that it's right for her babies. So once that terminal wall is built, she's going to go collect her food provisions for that cell for her baby. She's going to build a series of cells. Each one will have a food provision and an egg in it. That egg will develop all the way to a full adult bee before it emerges in the early spring. So nectar and pollen are the provisions she's searching for. She will put the nectar in her honey stomach, and then she will gather the pollen, come back. The first thing she's going to do after about 75 separate flower visits for this one trip, is returned to the nest. She has that nectar in her crop or honey stomach, and she's going to regurgitate it near the back of the cell. Then she's either going to somersault if there's room, so she turns around backwards, or she's going to leave and return walking in backwards so that her abdomen is pointed to the back of the cell, and then she can scrape that pollen off into the nectar that she's left in the back. So she's going to do this 15 to 40 times, and if you do the math, 15 to 40 times and 75 flowers per time, she's visiting thousands of flowers. So a bee may visit up to 25 flowers a minute and provision her cell in a matter of hours. She's doing some serious pollination and some very hard work to make sure her babies are going to have enough food. So when the food pile is an appropriate size, the bee makes a final foraging trip to collect only nectar. The nectar is regurgitated onto the sloping front surface of the pile, and then she's going to back out of the nest, turn around, and she's ready to lay that egg. It's sausage-shaped and white, and once it's laid, the thing she's going to do very quickly is, after laying the egg, she's going to immediately begin the process again, and she's going to work until that tunnel is almost completely filled. That may be 4 to 12 cells, 4 to 12 eggs, but not completely filled, because she leaves sort of an opening at the tip, a little space that doesn't have an egg in it, and that's just a little extra protection from predation. And then she's going to seal off the end in an extra thick cap of mud, and it's going to be flush with the entrance. She may live up to a month, and she may complete 6 nest tunnels or so. An average of 5 to 15 eggs in total in each one. While she's working on a tunnel, she's going to sleep in the tunnel that she's constructing to protect it and to shelter for herself in the night. As with other bee species, the female osmia stores sperm in a specialized organ called the spermathea. And this is really fascinating. She's able to control whether she has laid an egg that's female or male based on whether she fertilizes it or not. So if she fertilizes it, it's female. If she doesn't, it's male. And she's going to determine the sex ratio of that nest based on its depth and a number of other factors, diameter, and other things. But if it's an ideal cavity, then the ratio male to female is going to be 1.5 to 2 males per female. The males are laid in the front. She's protecting those females from predation. She's making sure they stay safe. So the males are going to be in the front, and they're going to emerge first as well. The females will be in the back. They're larger, and they have a larger food provision. And their cell is larger as well. So the males really don't do a lot other than mate with the females. They don't do pollination. They're not going to live as long. So the females do most of the active work of the blue mason bee. By now, at this time of year, we imagine the eggs are laid, and probably early development of the larva is going on inside these nests. So the first instar stage that follows the hatching of the egg after about a week looks a lot like the egg stage, but the instars will eat the egg yolk. They haven't yet cut into that food provision the mother has left for them. About 2 weeks after the egg is laid, it's going to go through its first molt. It's going to shed that skin-like exoskeleton, and it's going to start eating that food provision left by its mother. In about a month, it's going to go through 5 total molts. It should eat all the food in that time. So when it reaches the final larval stage in that period, after that 5th molt, it will defecate, and it will spin a tough silk cocoon produced by its salivary glands. During the cocoon spinning process, the larva's head will rotate continuously within the nest chamber. And a nearly invisible thread is wrapped around its body. Cease, and the bee will remain in this dormant pupal stage throughout much of the summer. In midsummer, the immature bee again molts into a white pupa within the cocoon. These pupae resemble adult bees, except they're completely white in color. Another month later, the pupa molts again inside the cocoon, shedding that translucent pupal skin. The fully formed adult bee within the cocoon will then remain dormant throughout the winter. So I mentioned that they are more effective pollinators than honeybees. But keep in mind that they're only active for a very short time, right? Only early spring flowers can be pollinated by the blue mason bee, whereas the honeybee is active for the entire growing season. So they are effective pollinators, but they're not active throughout. So we still need honeybees for over 100 crop species in the United States alone. Are you ready to put up your own blue mason bee nest? If so, I'll give you a few recommendations. First of all, make sure it's cleanable. We already covered that, right? Make sure you can take it out, change the trays, and bear in mind the quick turnaround between them leaving and coming back with their own eggs to lay. So you might even want to have two so you can replace one with the other in the right season. Also, make sure that it's south or east facing so it gets good sun. The height of it doesn't matter that much, so put it at a height that's easy for you to observe. And there is some debate about whether you should take the trays or tubes out in the winter and keep them in the refrigerator so that the bees have a consistently cool temperature. As climate change comes and it's 55 degrees in January, and you never know, you might want to consider that, but there are some who say that that's not the best thing. I recommend you go to the Xerces Foundation or your local extension agent and do some research and decide what you think is best on that topic. We're going to do some research as well and see what we want to do this winter. Take care, and for now, be like the blue mason bee, solitary and stay safe. babies. And then at the very end, she's going to cap it off with mud. She really thinks of everything and keeps those babies safe.